hits and have him take a picture of them. I hope very much we don't have a bear to take a picture of. But it's probably not the time of day for bears. Anyway, thanks for joining me today on the first installment of Getting to Know. And today is Getting to Know Crow. You probably remember that, when he first got here a couple of months ago, I said that I wanted Crow. And at the time, I didn't actually think it was going to happen. Dan, we have to do some schooling here also. So it just worked out that he's my horse. I have to thank Suzanne, who actually volunteered to loan me 2/3 of the cost, which was incredibly, incredibly generous and kind and thoughtful of her. So I did, before I had Crow, I did buy a saddle. It had started to occur to me that I wouldn't ride Doc again. And I figured, well, I'm in Montana. I need being the operative word here, I need my own Western saddle. And so I saw on the chat earlier that you all would like to learn about saddles and bridles and halters, which I will do on a boots on the ground later. But so anyway, this is my brand new saddle. It's gorgeous. Of course, I had to get a new bridle and reins and halter and lead rope and my own horn bag because, you know, you got to have the stuff. So Crow is the newest member of the Dunrovin family. He is, I was told 12, which is the perfect age for a horse. So everyone says that the horses are 12. He might be. The man I bought him from does have paperwork on him. So I'll actually know, you know, if he's registered or not, what his background is, where he's come from. He says he does have his birth date as well. So Crow is an Appaloosa. Appaloosas come in many different patterns and shades and things. So we're going to rest for a while. Awesome. So he is what's called a red roan leopard Appaloosa. The red roan comes from the fact that he is roaned. And roan, like Erskine, and I think Charger, is a color in which the white and another color are equally distributed. So there's bay roans, so you have white and brown for the bay, white and red, which is white and chestnut, and you have white and black. Are you going to sleep? That's good. So leopard is when the spots are distributed all over the body. Something he does have that I'm learning more about is he does have what's called a blanket. And over his hindquarters here, you see it's not quite so roaned. It's white. That's his blanket. So he is what they call a red roan leopard appy. There are some pictures as well of, he's not uncommon, actually. But a lot of people like this color, and actually I do too. I never thought I would want an appy. Just never occurred to me. From an English, you know, they write Appy's English now, but where I come from, you know, the huge bay horse is the one you want. You'll also notice that he has a very sparse mane and tail, and that's genetics. It's not going to grow. And the unfortunate part is that he can't get all his flies, so I try to keep fly spray on him, at least his belly. He's learned to like fly spray. He didn't like it at all in the beginning. He didn't know what the heck I was doing. I also like to keep a fly mask on him because I don't like flies in their eyes. Also, he can be prone to sunburn. He's also probably prone to uveitis, which is what Bonnie and Chinook have. So I have to do some research on that. He doesn't have tons of white around his eyes, but something else about Appaloosas is they have a mottled muzzle. So it's dark and light together. They also normally have striped hooves, which he has. And they also have a white sclera around their eyes. Those are all traits of Appies. You can have an Appy with no spots, but if they have some of those traits, then you know they have Appaloosa in them. I've learned that all Appaloosas, actually, we're going to take a little walk just so we don't have to stand forever. All Appaloosas, actually, come from the Nez Perce tribe. They bred Appaloosas for speed and for agility and for temperament. The Nez Perce are from this neck of the woods, Idaho, Montana, Washington, I believe North Dakota. So every Appaloosa is descended from the Nez Perce, which is very cool, I think. What else? Oh, come on, we're not going to creep out the door. The Nez Perce, obviously, later on they got saddles and bridles and whatnot, but early on they rode with what we call today an Indian bridle. It's just basically a piece of leather or a strap in their mouth with one or two reins. And it might seem like not having a bridle is more humane, but in fact, you can really hurt a horse with just a little thing in their mouth. And in fact, anything can be painful and dangerous if you're not a good rider. A hackamore, there's no bit in his mouth, and I will talk about a hackamore some other time, but that doesn't mean this is more humane. I can cause quite a bit of damage if I don't have light hands with him. I was also looking into his name, which is Crow, and I looked up Crow is a very significant bird in Native American culture. Crow medicine is very powerful. And a crow symbolizes wisdom, which is awesome, isn't it? There's a very famous ritual or dance that Native Americans perform. It's called the ghost dance. And I knew about the ghost dance, but I didn't know that they decorate themselves with crow feathers, which is very cool. And there are old examples of the ghost dance using crow medicine on tanned hides, for example. There's also obviously newer representations of it. They still do it. In fact, you know I'm a Patti Smith fan, and Patti Smith has a song called Ghost Dance. So it all comes around. I think Crow... So Crow is clearly descended from the Nez Perce, but he has a pretty... He's not as lithe as a lot of them that I've seen. And again, I'm just learning about this, and you're all welcome to help me out. He does have kind of a big rump, and that's... so I think there's a significant amount of quarter horse in him. And he has... I'm looking at his head. It's a quarter horsey head, I think. Kind of big jaw. Small ears. There's an old wives' tale that Appaloosas are cranky. He was more cranky when he got here. I know when I first got on him, his ears were flat back all the time, and he just refused to walk. He just refused to leave the gate. He refused to leave that corner. I know. He was bonded with Ben pretty good, and he didn't want to leave Ben, and he didn't want to be alone. But I had to whack him once when he wouldn't walk. And after that one time, he just put his ears flat back and said, okay, fine. Okay, fine. And then he walked off, and we've been pretty good ever since. He's not nearly as cranky, but he does have personality. Not Doc personality, but there's a lot going on in there. I think he's quite intelligent. Right? Are you intelligent? He says, of course I'm intelligent. I'm a horse. What else do I know about him? That's actually all I know about him. I know it's not breed specific, but his feet are in pretty rough shape. I've balanced his mineral intake. Nutrition is the best way to deal with that. Maybe some hoof dressing. We were raised that we always use hoof dressing, and then I was told that no, you never use hoof dressing. So it's one of those things where everyone knows the right thing, but you don't know what the right thing is. So maybe I'll experiment with both. He is what will be known as an easy keeper, meaning he won't need, I won't have to worry about him losing weight with a lot of exercise or with the cold weather. He's from this area of the country anyway. So he and I get along really well. He's very quiet. He's very responsive. What I've noticed is on the trail, if something brushes too much against his back legs, he'll give a little start. But I think what I'll do also is work with him in the round pen and drag all kinds of tarps and ropes and things in and out of his legs and get him used to that. As far as his past, it's a bit of a puzzle. I'll find out, early next week. But he has a very nice little jog, which I'll see if I can show you. And to my mind, it's a Western pleasure kind of jog. Let's see if we can do that, Crow. It's very nice to ride. Walk. And you see he puts his ears back when he's asked to do something, but want to look at all that stuff? But the jog is really nice. It seems like I have to teach him to keep it without always asking him to do it. Ho. But it's lovely. He's plenty fast as well. I galloped him up the side of the hill. I went out for a ride with Katie last week to show her the river ride, and she was on Romeo. And we ran up the hill, and he was he was faster than I thought he'd be. Besides that, we get along famously. He came right up to be caught. He and Doc are just best friends, and that was really important. Because Doc he shouldn't be run around, and he shouldn't have to defend himself. He's got a neck or he's kind of a spinal injury, is what we figured from that time he got so sick. And if he has to torque his body too much, I think that would be a very bad thing for him. So I knew that Crow was really a quiet horse in a herd. He'd been out, I think, hadn't he been out with Augie, Mystery, and Rocket, I think? And he just has no interest in working his way up the herd. So when he went out with Doc, the first thing he did was go off and eat, and Doc walked over real fast like, oh boy, I'm going to play with you and we're going to run. We're going to run and play. And Crow would have none of it. He just completely ignored Doc, and Doc finally just said, okay, whatever, and walked away. So they're a perfect pair. Doc gets a special bucket twice a day, so he gets the nutrition he needs to, maintain his comfort. And it would be such a pain. We couldn't back up a few days ago. Good boy. And Doc won't share his bucket, and Crow can take a hint. So that's perfect. And they share hay sometimes, but it's not an issue. So really nothing's an issue. He's pretty much the perfect horse for me at this point in my life. He's only 15 hands tall, which is, hand is 4 inches, so he's 15 times 4 inches. I never thought I'd want a smallish horse. Doc's 16.2, 16 and a half hands. But it just worked out absolutely perfectly. Who needs 2 horses? But Doc is officially retired, which was a kind of an emotional thing to realize, that I won't ride him again. I'll sit on him, one last time. Something bugging you? I'll sit on him one last time, but we won't ride again. And there's any number of horses here I can ride, obviously, and I do, but it's not the same as having your own. So this is Crow. I think he'll stay here for a couple of months. I might move him to a stable up the road that has a covered arena, so I can ride all winter. And I say that now, and when it's 10 degrees going out to ride, I know will not appeal to me, but I'm going to try to suck it up and do it. And that is all I know. That's Crow, everybody. Thanks so much for meeting him. He's a neat guy. His attitude's improved tons. Oh, I'm gonna run a Finkel sample on him. Rather than just deworm him, he's got what's called a big barrel. He's real big around. And I'm going to run a fecal sample to see what his, we call it an egg count, fecal egg count, to see if he has parasites. And rather than just deworm him, I'm curious as to if he's full of worms or not. I haven't seen any in his manure. And I'm going to vaccinate him because he hasn't been vaccinated in a while. And other than that, he's good to go. Before you buy a horse, you should get a vet check. But it wouldn't matter what it said, to be honest with you. He's sound, which means he's not lame, outwardly lame. I think he's a good horse in real good shape. So that is going to be, this is going to be my go-to guy for hopefully quite a few years to come. Next week we will introduce, I don't know, well maybe we'll do a dog. I think we should do a dog next week, or maybe a diva. Maybe a diva. I believe I think this is our only broadcast for today. Suzanne might have something this afternoon, and I apologize for not being completely up on the schedule. Thursday from 2 to 4, I work with Augie in Mystery. Brandon will not be with us this week or next week. He has a scheduling conflict. And Sunday will, of course, be Fur and Feathers. Nope, we're standing. Sorry, you have to learn to do that. So thanks again for joining me. I really appreciate it. Please post any questions in my chat if you would. And anything you learn, feel free to research for me. I thought about running a DNA test, but you can't really do that on Appaloosas, apparently, because they're a mix of so many things. Oh, they are, by the way, they are also, there's an active breeding program for Nez Perce horses. They're crossing them with a Siberian horse, I think. And they're a little leaner than he is. So we'll see what he's got in him as much as I can possibly tell. But please post your questions. Please post any research you come up with for us. And I'll share it with everyone. I'm sure if you're like me now, you just can't stop wondering. And that, I believe, is all you need to know about Crow, because that's all I know about Crow. He's a really neat guy. Thanks again for joining me, everyone. I will see you next time I see you. Thanks again. Bye-bye.